Welcome to the Tons of Industry show. Today's guest is a legend in the bullion dealership business in the fields of gold, silver, precious metals. And he's a good friend of the show, Ken Lewis from onegold.com and apmax.com. Love this guy. Great presentation. Just did a keynote presentation at the Stansberry conference in Las Vegas. Kenneth, thank you for making time. How are you, sir?
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate the time. Happy Monday.
I want to ask you this. We have many guests on who cite the risk for the global monetary system, the fiat currency regime, and suggest to follow their lead and own precious metals in some shape or form. Listeners know that I personally have converted 24 months worth of living expenses into physical gold and silver. Basically, I took my family units burn rate per month and just multiplied by 24 and converted that half into gold, half into silver in terms of the dollar amount. And I know that you advocate owning precious metals as well. I want to ask you, though, what are your chief reasons for owning metals? And do you have a strategy or routine for purchases that people can easily follow?
Yeah, look, first and foremost, we don't give financial advice. We ask people to do their own research. We point you to various literature out there in the market. My general view is this. When you look at the historical performance of gold, and we talked earlier, we'll give your listeners a PowerPoint deck and a presentation I gave where I walk people through this. You look at the historical performance of gold since year 2000, it's the second best performing asset class behind real estate. You look at how it performs when in tough economical times, it tends to perform inversely to the equities markets. And you look at it kind of from a portfolio standpoint, you'd be silly not to have it in your portfolio. To what degree you should own gold really depends on your circumstance. Many analysts recommend 5 to 10%. I've seen others with higher. I've seen some with a little bit lower. It really depends on your situation and your net worth. And you say, well, gosh, the numbers are great. They say you should own gold. But, what are the things, or what are the dynamics? Some people want to buy gold only when they think it's going to go up, and which I think, by the way, is the wrong way to approach gold. You approach gold and silver as a long-term investment, not something you dive into and then get out of in 3 months. It's just not the kind of equities. It's not like equities. It's not the kind of product that we're dealing with here. But when you look at the landscape, you look at interest rates, you look at the value of the dollar, you look at the overvaluation of the equities market, it tends to say, and many analysts in what they're writing, tends to be a positive future for gold and silver right now for people to want to get into.
Well, definitely. We had a peak in 2011. We haven't been close to those numbers since. So definitely, it's not like what's been happening with stocks. I want to ask you, Ken, you are an expert on various products and storage solutions and anything else that has to do with the actual physical bullion industry. If someone has never bought coins, never bought bars or any of that, what would be the first logical step or logical product to get introduced to?
Well, look, it's a great question. You can own gold. In our opinion, you can own gold 3 ways. You can own physical, you can own it through ETF, or you can own digital. We're the largest physical seller of precious metals in the U.S. We do about $1 billion a year, north of $10 billion in our lifetime sales. We do over 500,000 orders a week. I mean, excuse me, a week, I wish, a year. And what we generally deal in is core bullion. So when I talk to individuals about what's the right product for them, I kind of walk through things like spreads. And a spread is the difference between the premium you're paying for it and the premium you can get for it when you go to sell it. And I think spreads are a way to really focus your attention to the right products. What tends to sell for the core bullion players are the sovereign coins, the gold eagles, the gold maples, or the silver eagles and silver maples, and then also core bar products. So 1 ounce gold bars are very popular, as well as silver rounds and 1 ounce and 10 ounce silver bars. Some people think, hey, I need to go buy kilos or 100-ounce silver bars. And what I always advise people is it's not bad. You get the lowest cost per ounce over spot, but you're going to pay for it a little bit on the back end, because when you go to sell it, those kind of products don't sell at the same volume level. So you take a little bit of a haircut on the back end when you go to sell it. So I try to focus, if I'm silver, 10 ounce, 1 ounce, sovereign or bars. On the gold side, I focus primarily on sovereign coins, and a 1 ounce gold bar, I think, is the way to go.
Are there any seasonal sales or discounts or times when it's better to make a purchase?
It's a great question. Obviously, we just had a Cyber Monday deal where we made any quantity pricing. So you could, you can come in with $1,000 and be like you have $100,000 on our site, because what you tend to see is pricing gets better as you do more volume in our industry. But not really. When I look at it, it's really about the way the markets trend. You tend to see metal prices trend upward and downward during certain times. I think one of the things we tend to see is precious metal prices tend to decline in the summer months. I've always found September, October to be good times to start to get into metal, me personally. But I've also am a big believer in buying metal as you go. So dollar cost averaging, and not trying to time the market. It's just really, really hard to do. If you go in with a kind of a mentality that I'm going to put in, a certain dollar amount into metal every week or every month, I think you're going to come out ahead long term with that approach than trying to time everything and trying to get the best deal.
Do you suggest storage spaces in the United States or outside of it, or both? And what
Yeah,
are some of the options that people have? Some people are afraid of confiscation, for example, in the US,
yeah,
or they just want some geographical diversification. In other words, they're
yeah.
American, but they want to have some real estate offshore, or
Right,
banks accounts offshore, or just precious
right,
metals offshore.
right.
What are some of the good ones, the reputables? Talk a little bit about that angle of it.
Look, we tend to focus on the U.S. market. We store people's metal with Brinks today. So we have a product called Citadel where you can buy your metal, buy your gold eagles, your silver maples, whatever. And then we ship that product to a Brinks vault here in the U.S., and we charge a storage fee. That business does fairly well. The majority of our business, you can imagine, is shipping to people's homes. But for those that do want to store and don't want the risk of having metal in their home, I think storage is a great option. I'm not a huge fan of moving metals offshore for a number of reasons. Logistics cost is one of those. And I also think the regulatory environment of the U.S. tends to be more favorable to owners of precious metals than they are in other parts of the world. And that can be debated, by the way. I'm not the expert on, Switzerland's policies and how they deal with storage. What I can tell you is the expenses tend to be higher in other parts of the world. I mean, we're actually working on a product right now where we're going to be able to sell physical metal in Switzerland, and those storage expenses we're finding are 30-40% higher than what I pay in the U.S. As a byproduct of us trying to get that set up. So there are companies out there that offer metal around the world, and I welcome people to do the research. We at ATMEX generally focus here on storing it in the U.S. today, at least on the physical metal where you buy a specific product and you store it. I'd like to take a quick moment. We have launched a digital product. It's called OneGold, OneGold.com. It's a very, very impressive product. Today, it offers you the ability to hold your metal at the Royal Canadian Mint or here in the U.S. We're working on options in the UK and Switzerland, as I just mentioned. So there may be opportunities for those that want to hold their metal offshore and still have title. Very important, still have title to the metal. You can do that with our digital offering at onegold.com.
So we'll talk about one gold later, just so people can understand the difference
Sure.
between owning and storing with the Royal Canadian Mint, which is obviously not what you're saying. You're talking about a different product, and
Right.
I. So we'll get to that a
Sure.
little bit. Like, what I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts about the advantages and the pitfalls of owning rare coins?
Wow, you got to be smart. You got to be educated. There is a premium play out there. We are selling more and more coins with limited mintages that hopefully over time can appreciate in value. The whole idea of rare coins or anything of scarcity is that it will go up in value and that you'll make money on its premium appreciation more so than you would make it on the metal appreciation. I've been a big believer in that, depending on the product. I'm not an expert in going out and buying $25,000 coins that have 1 ounce of gold in them. But we do have, and we make available to customers a whole bunch of information to allow them to do the research on those categories. So I think it's really about who you are. I would say that rare coins, you got to do your research, look at auction values, understand the population size of the coin, try to stay more mainstream with the products. talk to multiple sellers to make sure you're getting a good deal. Don't focus it all on one guy. But you can make some money in that space, and there are a lot of businesses done in that space. But you just got to be educated and be very knowledgeable what you're doing.
In terms of the bulk of your purchases, there's an 85 to 90%, 85 to 90 to 1 ratio between silver and gold.
Yeah.
Is that how somehow reflected in the sales? You're the biggest bullion there in the United States. You sell 90 times the dollar volume of gold to silver. What is it?
Not at all. And we're probably a little more gold intensive than many sellers. Being around for almost 20 years now and being very reputable, we tend to attract more high net worth type individuals. Our ratio runs between 70 to 75% gold on dollars, and silver makes up the majority of the rest. And we do a little bit of platinum and palladium business, but it's probably a 70-30 split gold to silver in terms of the dollars we sell. Silver's had a tough run the last couple of years. It's the volumes it used to do versus the volumes it does today. It's probably off a lot more than gold is. I don't quite know why, honestly. When I look at the data, when I do my research, I would think silver is actually a very smart play right now. You look at the gold silver ratio, you can look at that a couple of ways. Where it's at today is at all-time highs. I think silver's undervalued right now. And so I think long term, depending on how you want to approach things, you might find between gold and silver, one of those two metals may have more upside than the other.
What are some of the new innovations of the bullion industry in general? What are some of these products that are coming along right now that might be interesting to people? A lot of the complaints that people have over the years is gold is non-performing, silver is non-performing. You don't earn a cash flow. You
Yeah,
can't leverage it. You can use it as collateral, etc. What are
yeah,
some ways that the industry is finding that off? Obviously, with storage fees, people have negative costs per
yeah.
month. So talk a little bit about some innovations that are being introduced right now in order to offset these.
Sure. Well, look, I think on the physical side, there's a couple things. I think lending is probably one of the bigger things that's starting to come to market. There are some companies that will allow you to, be the bank, if you will, and lend out your metal and get interest on that. There are also scenarios where you could borrow against your metal, and I think you're seeing more and more of that. So you can get more advantage out of that metal than just having to pay for storage expenses. I think both of those are going to really start to become more mainstream. I know, and we'll talk later about One Gold, but one of the things we're trying to do is build a process where on your phone, in a matter of a couple of clicks, you can go out and borrow, $1,000 on your phone against your metal position, and do that and have it dropped into your account, which is linked to your bank account, and move those funds immediately over and spend the money any way you please. I think that kind of evolution is coming, where you combine technology, the lending side, collateralization, and I think you're going to see some big advances here over the next year or 2 years. Outside of that, I think some people are coming up with concepts like debit cards, where you can use the debit card to spend your gold. I'm personally, and I've changed my opinion on this, I don't know why you would buy gold to then spend it, unless you're in maybe a third world country where your currency is very volatile. But if there are other options, we're looking at an option, for example, where you could earn gold when you're spending money at the grocery store, where your cash back is now gold backed, and you get gold earned from that. But gold's always going to have that battle of, it's an asset that doesn't really return a yield on it outside of how it performs. These are the two ways I'm thinking about where you're seeing some evolution in the industry, where you can earn gold as you spend, or use gold in your spending, or maybe even play in the lending space to make either as a lender of gold, or as a borrower against your gold. I think those are a couple of evolutions you're starting to see more of.
Okay, so what is One Gold?
So One Gold is a partnership with Sprott Inc. So where APMEX and Sprott got together, and about 18 months ago, actually almost 2 years now. And all we did was we looked at the crypto space. We said, boy, we love elements of the crypto space, but what we don't like is the fact that it's a token. Crypto has challenges from a regulatory standpoint, from a security standpoint. There were some concerns there. So what we did was we decided to go to market with a product that allowed customers to take a position of metal at any dollar amount. So you can go in and buy a dollar of gold or silver, by the way. Silver's live as well. And you can do that with the convenience of your phone, where you can link your bank account. It is a pool position. The metal is. You're buying silver at 5 cents over spot. You're not paying a dollar over spot like you would for physical metal. So you have the convenience of taking a position of metal. What we've made sure of is that title passes. You're fully insured, and the inventory is audited. It's only held in reputable third-party facilities like a Brinks, a Loomis, a Royal Canadian Mint. And also we have third-party top 5 accounting firms coming in off. So we're trying to make people feel safe that the metal's there, unlike ETFs where there's a lot of debate whether the metal's physically there. We have to have the metal. I can't actually sell metal I don't own, the way our systems work. And then customers are able to get in and out of metal with a matter of a couple of clicks on the phone with a very tight spread and very low cost. Probably more important than all of that is, how do you do more with this? Things like continuity programs where you can go in and buy $5 of gold a day. You can do that on One Gold. 65% of my transactions today on One Gold are people who are setting up reoccurring transactions, buying a dollar amount at a frequency that they're comfortable with, at a dollar amount they're comfortable with. Pretty cool stuff. And then you can convert that to physical. If you want to redeem right on your phone, you can look. We have 20 gold options, 20 silver options. You get our best tier pricing from APMEX. Ship same day if you want that physical. So you get the full experience of leveraging the fact that you're in the digital space.
Very interesting. Also, talk a little bit about the products that APMEX has.
So APMEX sells about 20,000 different products. We sell bullion, we sell collectible. We have the $150,000 rare coin if you want to buy that. We really sell the full spectrum. I don't know of anybody with the variety of assortment that APMEX has. And of course, we've got a world-class leading website, mobile experience, customer service is off the charts. That's what we're known for. And we're making sure One Gold is known for as well, putting the customer first. Been doing that for years. If you have a problem, you're going to be taken care of. You have a phone call, your phone call will get answered. Definitely a different kind of player in our space. We like to call ourselves the Amazon of precious metals for a reason. We kind of dominate the space, always have, and we do it through great service, great selection, fair pricing, where we just take care of the customer.
Ken, thank you very much for taking the time. Could you spell out those 2 websites, please?
Yeah, so APMEX is apmex.com, and then One Gold is onegold.com. And then what I'll do is I'll give you a couple presentations you can make available to your listeners. When I was on Stansberry, my whole plan there was to talk about why gold's a good investment. What does the landscape look like right now with central banks and government policies, and how does that look for gold in the long term? And then I dive into the various ways of owning gold, and you can learn a lot more about digital, because I really do believe digital is upon us, and the younger generation, I think, are really going to embrace that technology angle as we look to the future. So I'll get you those materials, and hopefully your listeners will take the time and be further educated on what the gold business is all about.
Ken, thank you very much.
All right, man, take care.